Hello, I'm Luna Celestine, your guide through the subtle rhythms of the cosmos and the deeper layers of your inner world. This week, I'd like to take a quiet moment with you, dear Leo, to explore the celestial movements shaping your path from April 1st to April 7th, 2025, a time marked by clarity, transition, and a rekindling of your innate fire. This isn't just another week on the calendar. It's a period where planetary shifts begin to align in ways that awaken something within you. If you've been sensing an internal nudge, a quiet readiness for change, you're not imagining it. With Mercury going direct and the new moon illuminating your chart, the sky is offering you a new kind of momentum, one that clears mental fog, sharpens focus, and widens the horizon of opportunity. We'll get into the details in just a moment, but first, I invite you to settle into this space, because what's coming isn't just astrological insight. It's a mirror, a compass, and perhaps a gentle reminder of the power you carry when you're aligned with your own rhythm. April begins with a subtle but deeply stirring shift in energy for you, Leo. On the very first day of the month, a new moon rises in your ninth house, a placement that speaks to perspective, higher purpose, and the urge to seek something greater than the familiar. For some, this coincides with Eid, a moment of spiritual reflection and celebration. But whether you observe it or not, the timing is significant. The sky is offering you a pause to reset your inner compass. This new moon isn't just symbolic. It has the potential to awaken a renewed sense of confidence in your beliefs, your direction, and your capacity to choose. The ninth house governs not only travel and learning, but also your personal philosophy and vision for the future. As the moon begins a new cycle here, you may feel called to take responsibility in a new way, not just for what you do, but for why you do it. This is an inner expansion before the outer one. You might notice a rising sense of clarity about what's worth pursuing and what's no longer aligned. Your intuition sharpens. There's a quiet confidence forming that doesn't come from ego, but from alignment. You are not being rushed into action, but gently prepared for it. And that preparation will become more important as Mercury shifts direct later in the week, opening up clearer pathways for decisions, movement, and change. This moment is meant to be honored. If you've been waiting for a sign to reconnect with your purpose, or to give yourself permission to explore something beyond the ordinary, this is it. The skies are turning in your favor, but they are also asking you to turn inward, even briefly, and listen. There is something important taking shape here. Let it unfold with intention. As we move closer to the end of the week, something subtle but powerful begins to realign itself within you and within the sky. On April 7th, Mercury stations direct, and for you, Leo, this moment isn't just an external shift in planetary motion, it's a mirror of your own inner recalibration. If the past few weeks have felt like you were treading water, mentally, emotionally, or even professionally, you're not alone. Mercury retrograde often scrambles clarity, delays decisions, and invites more questions than answers. But its purpose is never chaos for chaos's sake. It slows us down so we can hear what we usually miss. And now that pause begins to ease. You might wake up around this time and notice your thoughts feel lighter, less tangled. The inner noise that had been looping with uncertainty begins to quiet. Suddenly, the things you'd been mulling over, career paths, relationship dynamics, personal choices, start to find structure. You're able to trace the outlines of a plan again. You don't just think more clearly, you feel more aligned with your own reasoning. This particular Mercury direct carries even more meaning because it touches parts of your chart connected to personal expansion, opportunity, and outward expression. What this means is that the clarity you gain isn't just internal, it has a place to go. Decisions no longer stay locked in your head, they translate into actions. That might look like booking the ticket you hesitated over, having the conversation you kept putting off, or finally sending the application you wrote but never submitted. For some of you, especially those considering a career change, relocation, or major shift in lifestyle, this is an opening, a green light after a long string of caution signs. And because Mercury also has influence over travel and transitions, even ideas like immigration or long-distance moves are cosmically supported now. It doesn't mean the process will be instant, but the momentum you need to begin is present. And that's often the most important part. This transit also highlights the part of your chart that governs community, networks, and shared success. You may notice that others are more receptive to your ideas. Collaborations that once felt stalled may now start to move forward with ease. People who once seemed unsure or unavailable may now reach out. There's a subtle increase in flow, an invitation to lean into teamwork, to trust that not everything has to be done alone. Your individual strength, which is a hallmark of Leo energy, isn't being diminished. It's being supported by the right alliances. But more than anything, what this Mercury direct restores is your agency. That sense that you are not at the mercy of timing or people or circumstances. That your mind is your own again. That your words land clearly, and that the world around you is finally catching up to the truth you've been holding within. And when that happens, when the external begins to match the internal, it's easier to trust the timing of your own life. This is a turning point, quiet perhaps, but no less significant. What you choose to do with the clarity returning now will shape the momentum of the weeks ahead. It's not about rushing forward. It's about being ready when the door opens. And this week, Leo, the door does open. There's another layer to this week's energy that deserves your attention, one that may feel less dramatic on the surface, but deeply empowering when you tune into it. The Sun, your ruling planet, is currently moving through your 9th house, and for Leo, that's no small detail. When the planet that governs your very identity, your light, your vitality, finds itself in a house associated with higher meaning, wisdom, and long-distance vision, something shifts in your internal compass. You begin to seek more than achievement. You seek understanding. This placement subtly amplifies the best parts of your nature. Confidence returns, not in the form of showmanship, but in quiet certainty. Your voice becomes stronger, but less in need of proving something to anyone. You begin to feel intuitively what matters and what doesn't. If you've felt disconnected from your own sense of direction or belief, this solar energy can reignite it, gently but firmly. The 9th house is a space of philosophy, travel, expansion, and spiritual depth. And when the sun shines here, you may find yourself pulled toward something greater than your current experience. That might come as a longing to explore a new idea, to return to a spiritual practice, or even to physically move beyond your usual environment. But more than anything, it creates an internal openness, an ability to see the bigger picture, to step outside the emotional noise and find clarity and meaning. This solar influence also affects how others perceive you, especially in conversations that carry weight, whether in professional settings, government interactions, or personal negotiations. There's a sincerity in how you communicate now, a grounded warmth that makes people more inclined to trust you. It's not performance, it's presence. And in moments where your words or decisions carry influence, this energy works in your favor. You may find that your insight is sought after this week, that others look to you not just for leadership, but for perspective. That's the quiet power of a Leo with the sun in the 9th house. You become a guide without trying to be one, and that guidance comes from your lived experience, from the emotional truth you've gathered along the way. If you've been carrying questions about purpose, or if you've felt a bit lost in the day-to-day demands of life, this is the time to reconnect with your personal beliefs, the ones that have carried you through and remind you of who you are. The sun here supports any effort to learn, to teach, to inspire, or to share something meaningful. And when your sense of meaning deepens, so does your ability to lead. Something that's always been part of your path, even when you've doubted it. This week isn't about shining in a spotlight. It's about becoming the kind of light that others quietly orient themselves by, not because you ask them to, but because you've done the work of aligning with your own truth. And when you do that, Leo, your natural magnetism doesn't just return, it deepens. While much of the cosmic energy this week seems to support your movement, growth, and mental clarity, Leo, it would be incomplete to ignore the quieter undercurrents. those more challenging planetary influences that may surface in the background of your experience. These aren't meant to hold you back, but to call your attention inward, where resilience is built and boundaries are strengthened. Let's start with Venus, which is currently in retrograde. This is a gentle but sometimes frustrating influence, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. You may find yourself more easily irritated in relationships, even with people you care about deeply. It's not necessarily that something is wrong, it's that your usual tolerance for emotional nuance might feel thinner. Misunderstandings can arise more quickly. Moments that would normally pass may now linger in your mind, stirring questions about connection, compatibility, or emotional reciprocity. If you're in a relationship, this is a time to slow down, to listen more than you speak, and to check in with your own emotional needs before projecting them outward. If you're single, you may feel a desire for connection while simultaneously feeling disconnected or guarded. This is Venus retrograde's way of asking, what do you truly value in love? What are you no longer willing to compromise? It's not about avoidance, it's about refinement, and that inner refinement will serve you well, even if it temporarily slows the external flow of romance or intimacy. At the same time, Saturn continues its steady presence in your 8th house, a placement that often brings pressure in the form of control, transformation, or hidden dynamics. This part of your chart governs shared resources, deep emotional entanglements, legal matters, and the unseen aspects of power. You may find yourself facing issues related to contracts, documentation, financial obligations, or situations where trust is tested. There might be a sense of weight in the air, even if you can't quite name where it's coming from. This transit can sometimes manifest through external resistance, people questioning your intentions, delays in formal processes, or even subtle forms of opposition that feel out of your hands. If you sense others pulling away, withholding information, or doubting you, don't immediately go into defense. Saturn is asking you to take responsibility, but also to protect your energy. Be precise, be clear, and most of all, be grounded. This isn't a time to cut corners or assume people will understand what you mean. Show your work, clarify your terms. Let your integrity speak louder than your frustration. Energetically, this combination, Venus retrograde and Saturn in the 8th, can feel heavy, but there are ways to support yourself through it. The traditional guidance of reading Surah Shams 5 times a day is more than ritual, it's rhythm. It brings your attention back to your center, especially when emotions or external dynamics feel out of sync. Pairing this with wearing a blue sapphire can act as a symbolic anchor, a reminder of clarity, patience, and protection. What matters most this week is not avoiding challenge, but staying open and steady within it. These planetary movements aren't meant to break your stride. They're here to deepen it, to remind you that while clarity and movement are returning, they are most powerful when paired with intention and emotional maturity. And Leo, if there's one thing this week is teaching you, it's that your strength is no longer just in how brightly you shine, but in how deeply you stand. As the week unfolds with its blend of forward motion and lingering tension, Leo, the most important truth to hold on to is this: your power has never come solely from external validation or perfect timing. It comes from within, from that unshakable core you carry, even when things feel uncertain on the surface. Yes, this week brings its share of challenges. Venus retrograde may test your patience in relationships. Saturn may place weight on areas of trust, responsibility, or shared power. But none of these are beyond you. In fact, they are part of a larger refinement process, a way for life to remind you of your resilience, your discernment, and your capacity to navigate with integrity, even when the map isn't fully clear. And when things feel overwhelming, when clarity slips through your fingers or you find yourself second-guessing your next step, lean into what you know brings you back to yourself. For some, that may be stillness. For others, it's prayer, ritual, or a small act of devotion. The practice of reading Surah Shams is one way to create rhythm and resonance through the noise. Wearing a blue sapphire isn't just about spiritual tradition. It's about wearing a physical reminder that you are protected, that clarity and calm are never too far from reach. The truth is, not every challenge is meant to be solved by force. Some are meant to be softened by wisdom, steadied by faith, and witnessed with compassion. You don't need to push through everything. Sometimes, your most courageous act is simply staying centered when the path curves in ways you didn't expect. So as you move through this week, celebrating your clarity, adjusting to your new pace, and facing whatever comes up, remember this: the highs and lows are not evidence of failure. They are the rhythm of life itself. You were not made to avoid the waves, Leo. You were made to move with them. And you do that best when you lead from the heart, even when it's quietly beating beneath layers of uncertainty. Stay close to yourself, trust your timing, and know that even in weeks like this, especially in weeks like this, your presence has meaning, your process has value, and your light is never wasted. As we come to the close of this week's journey together, I want to leave you with something more than just predictions, Leo, because astrology, as I've always believed, isn't just about what might happen, it's about how you choose to meet it. And this week, with its blend of momentum, reflection, and subtle pressure, is inviting you into something deeper than surface-level wins. It's asking you to show up not just for what you want, but for who you are becoming. You are ruled by the sun for a reason. There is a natural brilliance within you that doesn't need to be loud to be real. But like the sun itself, your light goes through cycles. Some days are bold and bright, others are soft and low on the horizon. This week reminds you that both versions are still powerful. Both versions carry warmth, insight, and influence. You don't have to be on all the time to be in alignment. You just have to be honest with yourself about where you are and intentional about where you're going. So whether this week brings you clarity, challenge, confirmation, or some messy combination of the three, know that every moment is still part of your rhythm. Let your mind be clear, but let your heart be louder. Let your goals be defined, but your process be patient. And when in doubt, return to your center, that place within you that doesn't shift, even when the planets do. Thank you for spending this time with me. I know your attention is valuable, and I never take lightly the trust you place in these reflections. I hope something in this reading offered you a deeper sense of connection, not just to the sky above, but to the strength and wisdom already living within you. Until next time, keep choosing growth, keep trusting your pace, and most of all, keep honoring the light that only you know how to carry.